It's now time for Energy Insights, where you get an inside view and local perspectives of all the oil and gas progress going on in the Mid-Ohio Valley. This program is being brought to you by the Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association and can be heard every Saturday at 9 a.m. on local radio WMOA AM 1490 and ESPN radio WJAW FM 100.9 and AM 630. It's now time for the show. Here's Johnny Wharf, your local host.
Saturday morning brings us to Energy Insights, brought to you by the Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association, known as an acronym as Sugah, and the president of Sugah is Don Huck with Artex Oil Company. Welcome back to the program once again. I want to talk a little bit about, we touched last week on the landowner grant program, or the 225, I think is the bill number. So maybe you can talk about that a little bit as it relates to the folks that are listening out there.
Sure. The Leonor Grant program, again, the legislature expanded that program, put some more dollars in the budget, so to speak, for that, for OD&R to be able to address those issues and make it easier for landowners to be able to say, hey, I've got an orphan well on my property, and I'd like for it to be addressed. And they can go through the Division of Oil and Gas, and there's a procedure to follow that they can get that done with funds out of the oil and gas fund instead of the landowner having to address it with personal funds.
Okay, that's always a good thing. And so the reference was Orphan Well. And so for somebody that just was listening and said, what did he say? Orphan Well? Explain that a little bit.
Well, an orphan well is a well that doesn't have an operator in the eyes of the state of Ohio. The industry precedes any regulatory scheme. The regulations for oil and gas came into being in the early 1960s. The oil and gas industry in Ohio dates back to the late 1800s. So there's a lot of activity that's happened. A lot of wells have been drilled, that sort of thing, prior to any type of regulation or tracking system, before computers and all those things. So there's wells out there that nobody knows anything about. And they just pop up, or let's say they pop up, they're found by somebody, and if it happens on their property, that's an orphan well in the eyes of the state of Ohio.
Okay, invaluable information for somebody out there that has questions, and as it relates to this organization, Sugah. You're the president. Congratulations. This is one of those things where you raise your hand and say, I want to be the president of Sugah, right? Actually, you sit around a board table and they all point at you, I'll bet.
That is correct. So, no, we have a lot of good folks on our board, and all of us have taken our turn to lead the organization and that sort of thing, and continue to be officers. And as we've spoken in previous sessions, these are family-owned businesses, and it's it's their own personal finances that are involved here. So they're willing to be part of something above just their business. As part of an organization that helps the entire industry.
Yeah. So Artex Oil, we know, has been around for a long time, but as it relates to Sugah, talk about the growth of an association over the last, I assume, 5 or 10 years.
Well, obviously with some of the shale activity that happened in 2011 up to date or whatever, you always have booms and busts in our industry. So sometimes the membership swings up, which happened during that time frame, and then the boom's over and things tail back off and your membership comes back down. So and that has happened to Sugah as well. But we're still a strong, thriving association with good, stable members that are there every day. And you work with the transient part of the business, but we also have the day-to-day folks here that are just grinding it out, and that's what Sugah is all about.
Yeah, so the transient might be some of the bigger companies that came in when the boom was, and they might be gone now, but the base of the business, I'm assuming, is that family-owned or oil producer that's been here for a long, long time, and maybe even several generations.
Oh, sure. And everyone out there knows folks in the oil and gas business that have been in it their whole careers. Their families have always been in it. We all know who they are. They're scattered all over Washington County, and we just continue to do our thing. Regardless of the booms or the busts. And
then in closing, just to swing back to the way we started the show, and I think we were talking about the landowner grant that could benefit somebody, and I would just encourage that that listener that's out there that might have an orphan well, or somebody ask them a question, that they can contact Sugah, whether they're a member or not, and get some information that might help them down the road and in their pocketbook as well.
Well, sure. And if folks have a situation pop up where they they want to address a well on their property or whatever, and they don't know who to go to, you can contact the Sugah office. We'll direct you to the right folks. But it's the Ohio Department of Natural Resources Division of Oil and Gas. And, of course, with all that stuff's online these days. But Sugah's always here to help, and we can direct you the right way.
Don Huck of Artex Oil, we thank you for your time here on the show, and we thank Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association for bringing us energy insights right here on the radio every Saturday morning.
Thank you for listening to Energy Insights, brought to you by the Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association. Tune in every Saturday at 9 a.m. on WMOA and ESPN Radio WJAW as Johnny Wolf brings you your local and inside perspectives of the oil and gas progress going on in the Mid-Ohio Valley.